Hello and welcome to the 20th installment of my grading of all of the expansion cards in Terraforming Mars. This is the 9th episode on Colonies. As always, if you want insight into the grading system, check out the description or click on the link in the top right hand corner to get to the first video, where I explain it all. If you want to know how I go about ranking the expansion cards compared to the base game cards, check out the first video of rating expansion cards, which is also linked in the description. But let's get started. We kick off today's episode with another certified banger. Spin-off Department is a hilariously overtuned card in my opinion. It costs the same as Acquired Company and grants just one MC prot less. In exchange, it grants you one card draw, not even a cycle, on all cards you play that cost 20 MC or more. This is an insane ability, even in a base game where roughly only 15.4% of cards cost 20 MC or more. But Colonies introduces 12 new cards, which trigger Spin-off Department, an abnormally high percentage of 24.5%, and some of these are absolute bangers. We know how strong Credit Core's Endpoint Lunar's abilities are. They create impossible draft scenarios for your opponents where they have to decide between generically great cards or cards that would suit their game perfectly, and cards that trigger your ability and come with so much extra value. Spin-off Department is basically a mix of these two company abilities and creates these situations on a regular basis. I said time and time again that cards are the most limiting resource in the game, meaning that if you lack access to them, your gameplay often suffers enormously. Spin-off Department can help solve that, while not even costing significantly more than a similar card that does not grant any card draw. In contrast to continuous card draws like Death Center or AI, it can even be worthwhile to play in the super late game, if you held on to some massive point dumps. There's just one caveat. Like all other draws, it loses a bit in value if Pluto is in play, but nonetheless, S tier for Spin-off Department. Next up, we get to a card that kinda feels like it's a base game card. Sub-Zero Saltfish is very similar to Small Animals, but in my view, quite a bit worse. Both are half-point animals that eat a plant prot, and are almost identical in cost, but while Small Animals comes after 6 steps on the oxygen track, you'll need to do 12 steps on the temperature track to unlock its fishy counterpart. That means Sub-Zero Saltfish comes online at 63% of the temperature track, and Small Animals at 43% of the oxygen track. This difference in playability is definitely not compensated by the slightly lower cost. Still, Sub-Zero Saltfish is a useful card. Often you get at least 2 activations out of it, so it scores a point, and the hit to your opponent's plant prot can be super impactful. Also, getting any animal collecting card online is super valuable in games with Miranda in play. But in total, while Small Animals landed in B tier, Sub-Zero Saltfish will be placed in C tier. From now on, we enter Titan territory. The last 3 cards in today's episode are all Jovians, and the first one is Titan Air Scrapping. Sadly, this card is strictly limited to engine setups and often needs a bit of help from a focused Jovian game plan to shine. Let's talk about its problems first. Same as quite a few Jovians introduced with Colonies, it doesn't come with a space tag, meaning you have to pay for its high cost all with cash, and it doesn't receive the million space discounts that most of the base game Jovians benefit from. At the same time, you need titanium to activate it, so it requires titanium but doesn't act as a titanium dump. You might say, well, Jovian Lanterns has exactly the same problem and you place that in B tier. Well, the key difference is the availability and efficiency of point scoring. Due to the cost, the tax, requirements, and the fact that both cards do not help with ending the game, they are obviously engine-only pieces. And in an engine, you do not consider TR much more strongly than straight VP. Now factor in that Jovian Lanterns can, with the help of combo cards and especially the colony tile Titan, score multiple points per gen, while Titan Air Scrapping is limited to 1 TR per gen, and you'll see why the latter is just worse. Now let's get to the strengths of the card though. It is obviously still a good way to spend excess titanium, if you know early on that you will run into such an issue. It scores immediately and continuously and can help an engine player contest Benefactor. But don't get your hopes up on Terraformer. And lastly, as a point card with costs over 20 in a Jovian tag, it's great for a Jovian strategy and comes with extra combo potential for quite a few corps and spin-off department, which we discussed earlier. Phew, that was quite a long-winded way of saying that Titan air scrapping belongs in C tier. The next Jovian on the list is Titan Floating Launchpad, and instead of scoring points, it brings utility. It offers a shortcut to trading that can be life-saving if you're unlucky and start without any power prod in your starting hand. What's crucial is that it starts with 2 floaters on the card immediately, meaning that you can start trading as soon as you play it. Optimally, you would then either find a way to get more floaters on Titan Floating Launchpad over the course of the next few gens to continue uninterrupted trading, or you would try to find power prod to trade with and another floater collector to collect points on. If you don't find power prod, however, Titan Floating Launchpad also continues to be essential, so that it grants you a trade every second gen when you couldn't otherwise trade cheaply. If you do find power but no floater collecting card to pivot to, then Titan Floating Launchpad loses relevance, since then it only saves you 3 power every other gen. But one aspect of the card that I haven't mentioned yet is that it allows you to trade immediately after playing it. A huge upside if you draw it in a mid-game. If you drew a power prod card like GSM at that point, you'd enable yourself to trade too, but only a gen later. With Titan Floating Launchpad, you can trade in the same gen, collecting more resources in total. All in all, I think it deserves a B tier placement for all the utility it provides. And the last Titan-themed card that we have to talk about is Titan Shuttles. If you use it on its own, you would optimally only remove floaters from it once in the last gen to reap the maximum reward, since any gen you collect titanium is a gen where you can't gain more floaters. If you really only remove titanium in the last gen, Titan Shuttles is basically 2 titanium prod. But obviously with the huge downside of not being able to use the titanium in the meantime. And of course, it also doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes you urgently need titanium sooner to play a big card. If that card is impactful, maybe it's a Demos down to collect the bonus ocean or to stop your opponent from converting, then it's absolutely worth it. But if it's just a matter of playing Vesta Shipyard 1 turn earlier or not, then maybe you should think about it. The strategy of collecting a ton of floaters on Titan Shuttles also comes with the quote-unquote risk that you find a great floater collecting card at some point later and would love to immediately start putting floaters on it with Titan Shuttles, but you still need to find a gen to collect your titanium. But how do we rate this card? If we compare it to Asteroid Mining, we see that Titan Shuttles is just 2 MC cheaper after factoring in the extra point on AM. On the one hand, it's then more flexible, since it can also be used as a floater combo card to score tons of points on Jovian Lanterns, for example. And on the other hand, it comes with the huge downside of having its return come very late if being used for titanium production. Also, we have to mention that the point generation is not that strong. In the best case, meaning comboing it with Jovian Lanterns, you pay 23 plus 3 for an immediate VP on the card and 1 point per gen afterwards. To make up for this, you probably want to be going for a Jovian combo when playing this card. But Colonies is making the game more engine focused, so that isn't too unrealistic. In total, I'd say it's a C tier card, same as Asteroid Mining. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know in the comments whether you agree with my ratings, or if not, how you would have rated these cards differently. Also, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and consider subscribing. And lastly, please check out my Twitch and my Twitter. See you in the next video.